Who benefits from inflation? Inflation is not neutral, but most people think it is. Prices go up, money buys less, everyone loses. But that's not actually how it works because inflation doesn't hit everybody equally. Some people actually benefit from it. And to understand why, you have to stop looking at prices and start to look at where money enters the system. When people talk about inflation, they focus on things that they see: gas, housing, food. All of those go up, which is true. But rising prices are just a symptom, they're not the cause. To understand inflation, as that age old saying goes, you got to follow the money because new money doesn't appear everywhere at once. It enters the system in specific places: financial institutions, banks, governments, financial markets, and that is where everything starts to change. There is a concept in economics called the Cantillon effect, and it describes something very simple. The people who receive the money first benefit the most, not because they're smarter or because they worked harder, but because of timing and positioning. Think about it like this: new money enters the system, the people closest to that source, banks, hedge funds, think tanks, financial institutions, asset holders, they all get access to it first. And when they do, they can spend that money before the prices adjust. They can buy assets, invest, acquire resources, all at yesterday's prices. Then the money spreads, more demand, and prices begin to rise. But by the same time that money reaches everywhere else, the everyday worker, taxpayers, savers, everyday consumers, the prices have already adjusted. So they're spending money that has already lost purchasing power. Same inflation, different position, widely different outcome. Now make it more concrete. Say you have two people, one works in finance, the other just has a blue collar salary. New money enters through the financial markets. The first person gets access to it early. They invest it, buy stocks, buy assets before those prices adjust. The second person gets paid later. Maybe they get a raise, but by the time they do, housing, rent, everything else has gone up accordingly. They both got more money, but one gained purchasing power while the other lost it. And this doesn't just happen once, it compounds. Because the people who receive the money first don't just spend it, they invest it. They buy assets or hard assets that tend to rise with inflation: precious metals, housing, the S&P 500, Bitcoin. And when asset prices rise, the people who already own those assets because they position themselves prior become even more wealthy. Not necessarily because they produced more value, but simply because they were positioned closer to where the money entered the system. This is why you often see asset prices rise first. Financial markets move early. Housing moves early. By the time inflation becomes obvious in gas, in rent, in groceries, it's been working for quite some time. Meanwhile, people further away or furthest away from that source experience something completely different. They get paid later, they hold cash, and then watch those asset prices rise. So their purchasing power declines before their income adjusts. And even when wages do adjust, they're often just catching up to the prices that have already moved. Very seldom will they ever exceed it. So over time, something subtle happens. Wealth doesn't just grow, it shifts and it's funneled. Not evenly, but based on the position on where you are within that system. Access to money early versus access to money late. And over time, that gap is only going to widen. You can think of it like a wave. New money enters at one point and then flows through the other side of the economy. The people closest to that wave feel it first when prices are still low and haven't adjusted yet. Everyone else feels it later after prices have already skyrocketed and there's really nothing that you can do about it. Same wave, different timing, different results. And once you see it this way, you start to notice patterns. Why do asset prices rise before wages? Why do some sectors boom while others lag? Why does it feel like the cost of living rises exponentially faster than our income? These aren't random outcomes. They're part of how money flows through the system. If money represents stored time and energy, then inflation isn't just about prices going up. It's a shift in who gets to claim that stored value, that stored energy. And it's not even, but again, based on positioning. Who gets the money first and who gets the money last? So inflation is not neutral. It does not affect everybody the same. It moves through the economy in a sequence, and that sequence matters. Because once you understand that, the question changes. It's no longer just why are prices going up? It becomes where is the money entering and who is getting it first? Because that is where the real effects begin. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.